All right, you've got your brand new shiny gaming monitor. Many of you are here probably because of my review of this one, which I think is the best value PlayStation 5 monitor, the LG 32GN50BT, or in Canada here, it's the GN500T or B, and it's known a couple different ways in the world, but maybe you pick this one, maybe you pick something similar to this one, and you're wanting to know what are the best settings for my monitor, for my room, for my play style. And, you know, there's a number of presets set right out of the box. Many of them are good, but some of them are actually weird and could ruin your experience if you just picked it and think this is what the monitor has to offer. So we're just going to make a video today where we go through the settings on this monitor, specifically applicable to this 32GN50BT, but I think it'll be relevant for many other people who have all sorts of different kinds of gaming monitors to at least understand like brightness and contrast and your response time settings and some of the weird presets and why they give you what they give you and why you maybe should or shouldn't use those. So, does that sound good? In that case, we're going to jump over to a camera on the monitor and we'll kind of show it happening in real time. So, let's go. All right, we've got the monitor right here in front of us that we're just going to kind of talk so you guys can see. Just a note, as you kind of see my face sneaking in the screen here, is that cameras don't do the best job of recording screens. And so it's going to look a bit weird and pixely, but it won't matter for the sake of the settings video. So just a note about that. You might see some rainbow effect. The edge of the text may not look sharp, even though it looks perfectly smooth on my screen. It might be a bit of a mess. That's fine. Let's go into the settings here. And the first thing that we're going to see right here is 120 hertz is on, which is great. The monitor's got FreeSync on, and so it's detecting that 120 hertz signal. It's locking in to match that, which is great. 1 millisecond motion blur reduction is off because I think that's actually only available over DisplayPort, but you don't need to worry about it anyway because this monitor is actually playing fast. I've got the response time set to faster. We'll get into that in a second. And HDR is off because this monitor can't do 120 hertz and HDR at the same time. You either have to do one or the other. So in the case of like a Warzone or a Fortnite, you can have HDR on if your 120 hertz is off. So that's good, but you can't do both. HDMI 1.4 limitation. And even over DisplayPort, maybe it would work from a PC. I don't know. I'm okay with it. This monitor already has great contrast ratio, so we don't have to worry about that. Unfortunately, these menus time out really quickly. Game modes, we'll get into game modes in a little bit here. We'll come back to that. Game adjust. So we've got a few things. FreeSync Premium, which you don't really have to worry about the PlayStation 5 because it's technically not FreeSync compatible, but FreeSync means it can lock into 120 hertz. So we're not going to worry about that. Or really the black stabilizer. This adjusts the black saturation levels to try and make darker images stand out a little bit better. So if you've got those corner campers, you're going to see around here, like as I turn this up, all the shadows went away and the blacks are gone. And as I turn that back down, it's going to bring it all the way back down. But, you know, honestly, I like it in the middle. We can see everything pretty well. Response time, I set mine to faster, which, again, we can't do 1 millisecond. I think the panel's technically 4 or 5 milliseconds. This helps compensate and makes the whole games feel fast. If you have this cranked too much on some monitors, you get overshoot, which looks a bit weird. I haven't noticed that on here. It just looks good. Crosshair, that's going to let you add this little... There's a little crosshair now in the middle of the screen if you need that for sniping or in other games where you want to kind of pre-aim. I have that off because modern games have that on anyway for you. And game reset. That's just going to reset all your settings. So picture adjust. Let's talk about a few of the settings. Brightness, I mean, I think that's fairly straightforward, just the overall brightness of the panel. Adjust this based on your room to a level that's comfortable. If you're in a brighter room, you're going to want it a little bit brighter. I've got lots of studio lights on. It's a little bit brighter. If I have all my lights on, I can turn or off. I can turn this down a little bit, but just set this to what's comfortable. Let's go 75. Contrast is the difference between the bright parts of your scene and the dark parts of your scene. And if you turn this down, you're going to see that the bright parts all suddenly get very, very dark, but the shadows don't really change nearly as much. And so it's just flattening the whole screen out. You don't probably want to turn this down, but you can a little bit if you wanted to try and boost the shadows up a little. You could take the contrast down, then go up to brightness and just kind of take brightness all the way up And again, you're going to see our shadows are a little bit brighter because the contrast we've turned down. Again, if you're trying to see those rose skins in the dark in Warzone or something like that, that can be helpful. But the nice thing about this monitor in general is, we've talked about this before in the review, it is a VA panel, and VA panels have much deeper, darker blacks, and they have a lot more shades between the blackest parts of the image and the slightly more gray parts of the image. So they do a better job of actually you being able to see dark things in the shadow, whereas TN panels, which are really fast responding, they are terrible at kind of resolving all that dark information. But with a contrast ratio of 3,000 to 1, just meaning way more shades from black all the way to the brightest parts, this monitor is going to be great. So for me, my contrast is going to be somewhere around here. I'm happy with how the image looks. Sharpness, I just don't mess with. It looks plenty sharp with me. You don't want it over sharp where you can see all the edges of the text. Again, on the camera right now, it may not look the best, but my edges are smooth. I like how it looks at 50, and that's good. Gamma is, again, a different way of it resolving brightness shadows. And as you get darker, it's kind of hitting that contrast a little bit harder or a little bit different. It's pretty subtle, though, so I've kept it out of the box because I'm happy with it. Color temperature. This is how blue or how orange the picture looks. And so I've got it manual, W2. You can do whatever you want, but cool, you're going to see very blue, medium, a little bit more in the middle, warm. You can notice kind of the skin tones in the white parts get a little bit more orange, and kind of like sunlight outside is very blue, or you'll notice that certain lights in your house are more orange, some are more blue. This just kind of sets it. If you're honestly wanting to go to bed well, cut the blue light down. I've got this manual W2, which is just, it does the whole gamut. So we can go straight orange, kind of all the way over to like a blue. And so W2 is warm too, slightly more to the warm side. That's how I like it. 6 color, this is getting into your really advanced settings where you can take the red, green, and blue, which are the 3 colors that make all of this up, and you can choose how saturated they are. You can change the hue. You can do that. I haven't messed with that yet. If you really want to get nerdy about calibrating your monitor, and I have a special device that I could do that, but so far, I've just wanted to play the games that I've been happy with the way the games look. That's probably more advanced unless you're a serious color corrector or super nerdy. You can get into that. Black level, high or low, is really depending HDMI. If you didn't have enough bandwidth, if you set it to low, it basically crunches your blacks and gives you less information across that dynamic range. It looks good because suddenly the blacks are really dark, but you're actually not getting as much variation between black, medium black, lighter grays, that thing. So leave that on high. Don't mess with that unless there was a specific reason that the input device didn't support that. But if we're talking PS5 and stuff, just don't worry about that. DFC is it's dynamically adjusting the brightness of the screen. I would probably leave that unless for some reason you want it to adjust based on what's happening in there. Picture reset is going to take it all the way back. So those are kind of the main ones. But now let's talk about these game modes, because you have Gamer 1, which is how I've set, and then I've just customized it slightly. Gamer 2, as we go down to it, you're going to see right there in all my shadows, it became a lot less deep blacks, again, boosting the shadows to help you see what's going on there. First-person shooter, you're going to find that as well. Again, the goal is to be able to see everything that's going on around you. But for me, I'm a bit of a nerd, and I like the more cinematic feel of this, where my shadows are darker and blacker, and it feels much more rich. And I don't feel like I typically struggle to see people in the shadows on this monitor because of the good contrast ratio. But if you want the best advantage, this first-person shooter one's going to be good. You're going to notice this Gamer 2 has a faster response time. First-person shooter, they've just got it set to fast. These are the defaults. RTS is that real-time strategy, and I don't know off the hop exactly what makes this the perfect mode for this, but you can just kind of see that the settings have changed where, again, there's not a lot of that contrast ratio. Whereas if we go to Vivid, it's going to crank the saturation. We've now got rich greens. We've got like really aggressive saturated colors, deep blacks, just popping. This can be really good if you're doing a story game and you just want like the best, richest visuals possible. I can see they've cranked the sharpening on it, which is maybe a little bit aggressive for what we're doing, but you can play around with that. I mean, you can manually recreate this look if you go into picture adjust, if we were to take this off, but picture adjust and you start going into the RGB colors and cranking up the saturation and doing that, but Vivid is just good if you want like the richest, brightest, best one possible. Reader is going to be for reading text off the screen, which that would be more of a working thing. And HDR effect is going to kind of try and simulate HDR with that kind of wide range of, I think it's bringing down the highlights just a little bit and trying to give you a full range of shadows. But for me, I've been the happiest right on Gamer 1 with that response time set to the fastest, or the faster, which is the fastest response time, and just some of those changes that I've made there with in regards to, oh, this is reset it. I lost all my settings. That's fine. It's for you guys. So if I was going to set this, I'd be Gamer 1, taking my brightness down to around 75. Contrast 70 is fine. Sharpness, I'm actually going to bring that down a little to 50. And these other things, I don't think I'm really... Oh, I had that other one changed. Oh, that's because I'm on the wrong one. I want Gamer 1. Let's see what this does. Picture adjust. There we go. I got all my settings back. 75, 70, 50 sharpness, gamma mode 2. Color temperature, manual warm 2. That's how I set it. I have mixed with 6 color, keep the black levels high. I have this off for dynamically changing the picture. Other than that, input, like list is your 3 inputs. You could change the original, like the aspect ratio, which is more so for computers than other things. And then these other ones, we've got language, we've got our energy savings, which I've got a little bit on. This, if you take this high, I think it's going to darken the picture, but it's like a smart algorithm to try and save you some energy. I'm not worried about that for gaming. Power LED. I don't actually know what that... Oh, that's literally the LED on the bottom. You can turn it on or off of whether you're seeing the power LED. Automatic standby, if you want it to go to sleep for you, that you can do that. HDMI compatibility mode would only be for certain devices that are maybe struggling to connect. I haven't needed that. A buzzer, I think it beeps at you for certain things. On-screen display lock, I guess I could have turned that on. But no, what does that do? Just locks the on-screen display. Information, I've had it on for 365 hours. My resolution's 1920 by 1080. And that is the end of our setting. One of the things that I love about this monitor, though, is just simply that it looks good right out of the box. It doesn't require a whole lot of tweaking, at least for me. I've enjoyed it. But it also has a lot of flexibility if you do want to tweak it or change it or use different presets or get into it. So that's fantastic. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, there's going to be more gaming. There's tech, camera. You can learn about streaming or just interesting things in life. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. I'd really appreciate it. But do you have any questions or comments? I went through those menus pretty quickly. If you have any questions, I'll drop in the comments below. I'm very active in the comments section. Or if you need to correct something that I said or you have some other ideas, I don't pretend to know everything. I know a reasonable amount, but I'm just trying to help. So get in the comments section below. Let me know you watched the video. Check out the links on the other video. If you're looking for this monitor specifically, but you're struggling to find it, I do have some other recommendations, especially I know in the UK it's so hard to find. Or if it's sold out other places. The link to that will be in the description below, as well as this monitor. Anything else. I'm Justin Rivas, Rhymes with Beavis. Thanks for watching.